Okay, so on this one, we're going to be computing grades. We need to find averages. So if you remember how to do averages from past classes, usually it's you take one test, so that's going to be one test, and then you take your next test, and then you take your next test, and then you take your next test, and then you divide by how many tests you have. That's how you find your average. So what we're going to have to do on this one is we're going to take the test that we already have. So 65 plus 79 plus 83 plus 68. And we have one more test, which is going to be the final, but it counts as 3 tests. So I'm going to say it's going to be 3x. And this is all over how many tests we have. So here's 3. This actually does count as 3 tests. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's actually 7 tests. And we want to end up with a 70 average. So in order to do all of this, what we're going to have to do is combine like terms here. So if we combine like terms, we're going to have to go 65, 79, 83, and 68. We're going to have to add all those together. I like to look at numbers that actually work well together and make it easy. So 8 and 9, I usually do the biggest ones first. So 8 plus 9 is 17, plus 3 is 20, plus 5 is 25. So I put 5 here, carry the 2. And then this one, we have 6 and 6, which is 12, and then another 8, which is going to be 20, 27, 29. So this is going to be 295. So when we put that all together, we're going to end up getting 3x plus all of these guys together, which is going to be 295. And that is going to, we got to divide that by 7. And that's going to be equal to 70. Now, in order to undo all of this, we got to ask ourselves what's happening to x. So x is getting multiplied by 3, then added 295, so it's getting multiplied by 3. Then we're adding 295. And then we're dividing by 7. And if you remember, we need to go backwards and do the opposite thing on each one. So the opposite of the inverse of dividing by 7 is going to be multiplying by 7. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 7. And that gets rid of that. It reduces. So we get 295 equals 490. Now we need to subtract these guys, because that's the next thing. We added 295, so we got to undo it, so we need to subtract 295. So this gives us, that goes away, so we end up getting 3x equals, now 9, that's too big. I mean, this is too big, so we're going to have to borrow. And this gives us 5. Borrow again. And you end up getting 9 here, and that's 1. So 3x equals 195. So now, the last thing we need to do is divide by 3. Since we're multiplying by 3 and we're going backwards, we now need to divide by 3. So we divide by 3 on both sides. And since we don't have a calculator, we're going to have to do it the long way. So 195 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 19 6 times. So 6 times 3, we get a remainder of 1. Bring down the 5. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and that goes in exactly. So it's going to be, we have to get a 65. Now, since this is a story problem, we want to make sure that everybody knows what we're talking about. We can't just say x equals 65 because I don't know what x is. So what we need to do is we need to look back up at our story problem, and we need to say that Mark needs to get a 65. Mark needs to get a 65 on the last test. And I like to usually look and see if I actually answer the question correctly. It says, what score does Mark need in order to on the final exam in order to have an average grade of 70? And my answer was Mark needs to get a 65 on the last test, and that works. So there you go.